showing me, reminding me to check.
It reminds you to do what?
It's reminding me to enter the correct username, but I'm entering the way I used them yesterday. And it's not going to.
Oh,
Yeah.
so I want you to. So there are two ways of you can go about it.
Yeah.
Just open a new tab,
Uh-huh.
and then right there KC.
All right, Kay.
Let me just show KC. Are you with me?
Sorry.
KC. If you're with me, just right there kc.humanitarianresponse.info. Try to log in with that one. If it still asks you for the same, right there KF, and also try to log in with this one. So let me just share both of the link in here. So try first to log in with that side,
Okay.
and then once you're done, also try to go to this site. Good. So for the rest of the team, I hope we already have now our.
I have the same problem also. Like I can't log in also.
Okay, so try the first one to log in using the first. So just click on the first link and then try to log in. And then again, if it still persists, click on the second link and then try to log in. One of them, and make sure your username and password are the correct one. Good. So let's start the session. And yesterday we were able to handle for single select. I think we also did some numbers. So let's proceed. So we can see we have section. Now I believe today I should be starting with section 2. But before section 2, so there's this one. So there's this question on respondent, professional, or role. That should be the next question. So the same drill. But before we code, as you can see in this question, the researcher is interested to understand the profession or the role of that person in the community. Now I have a question. In this question, do you think somebody has the only option of selecting one, or there's a chance that somebody can select two of the options? Anyone who can try that? What do you think? Is it a select one, or somebody can select more than one?
Can select more than one.
Good. That means somebody can be a teacher, and at the same time, the person is also a religious leader. Or you can be a community leader, and you're also a community member. Okay. So in this case, this one is not a single select question. This one is a multiple select question. That means somebody can select more than one. There's also the last part where it's written other specified. So anyone to confirm to me what does that mean, or what should happen there? Other specified. What do you understand by that response?
I can answer.
Sure.
Any other profession or role
Yes.
that has not been placed there.
Thank you so much. So yes, if you have a certain role or profession, but among those roles is not listed there, then somebody has the privilege of clicking that option of other, but that is not enough. Once they click on the option of other, they need to proceed and write down that profession that is not listed here. I think yesterday there was someone who was asking me about the difference between a text and select one. So this is the part, to answer your question, this is the part whereby now somebody will be writing a text. So if you're an engineer, you'll come there and write there, engineer, or any other profession that is not listed here. So let's go ahead to our server and see how were you supposed to handle these type of questions. And it works well. So the first thing is I'll copy the name of the question or the entire text. I go to my server, and then it's still part of section 1. So I'll open the inner one, innermost plus sign, and I'll paste the question there. After pasting the question, I will go to add question, and with add question, this time I will select many. The first option is teacher and then community leader. Right there, teacher, community leader. I can add 2 more. Social worker, health worker, social worker, and then I have health worker, religious leader, community member, religious leader, community member. Now, let's now see how to handle this part of other. So in that question, I will just add the option other, whereby if somebody has another platform, like I've explained, they will click on that other. And then remember the condition or what should happen if you select other. It's a must that if somebody selects other, they have no choice but to write that other platform. So I will add another group called specify, and then I will use now skip logics in a way that I will condition my my phone or the Android device to always take me to other to specify every time somebody selects other. Okay, so here I'll just select, I'll put the option of other, and then the next question I'll write there specify. And I know for specify, this is where somebody is supposed to write what? A text. They'll be writing down that platform. Now, remember, if somebody selects teacher, they're not supposed to see something called specify. But if somebody clicks on other, that is when they're supposed to do what? To specify. So I'll be introducing condition, and now with this condition, it will be able now to work well and guide the data collection process. Now, how do you put the option of skip logic? With skip logic, you will come here to the option of settings. Once you click on setting, go to the option of skip logic. Settings, skip logic. Once you click on skip logic, now this is where you apply condition. And the condition for this thing called specify to appear is if in the previous question, somebody selected what? Other. So we're going to do that by adding a condition. Go to the option of adding a condition. And then you'll see here, you're told, select a question from the list. So there's a list of questions. Once you click on it, and then where do we have the condition? In the question respondent profession, in the question respondent profession, if that question, somebody selected what? Other. If in that question, somebody select other, then that is when the option specify should appear. So I'll click on other. And if I close this one, I'm good to go. I hope that part is understood. I'll go to the next question. And this question is on what? Under section called stakeholder analysis. And then I have section 2. Don't know if there's a question for me. Good. So in this question, again, let's read and understand it. The first question says what? Are there any humanitarian organization working in your area? Are there any humanitarian organization working in your area? Somebody has the option of saying yes. Another person has the option of saying no. Another person has an option of saying, I don't know. Now, let me pose a question. What do you understand, or what is the difference between somebody who said no and the person who say, I don't know? Anyone who wants to help us understand the difference between when somebody says no and when somebody say, I don't know?
To somebody who said yes, question B and C will be posed to them to answer. And one who said no, it will be skipped up to I think E.
Perfect. Maureen, you want to try? Thank you so much.
Yes, I can say something. You've
Sure.
said we give the difference between a respondent who says no
Yes.
and the one who says that I don't know.
Good.
I think the one who says no, he's aware. He knows that maybe that particular item that you're asking is not available at all, so he's aware. But the one who says I don't know, he's not aware of what is happening.
Yes. That is very correct. Actually, now that is now what we call internalizing your tool and performing what we call scenario analysis. A good data analyst should do what we call scenario analysis, so that when you code your questionnaire, you say, okay, out there at the field, there might be someone who knows in this location there are no NGOs. That guy is sure that yes, in this area, hakuna NGO. The other person who say, I don't know, that is one guy who is in that area, but it's not that NGOs are not there. But instead, NGOs might be there, but the respondent doesn't know if there's any NGO. There's a person who doesn't know the difference between an NGO and a CBO. I don't know if I should pose that question here. Actually, let me just ask, what's the difference between an NGO and a CBO? Guys, let me pose that question. Anyone who wants to try?
A CBO is formed by people from the community, and an NGO doesn't necessarily have to be formed by the people from the community. It can be formed by people from anywhere.
Yes, that is very correct. So CBO is for community-based organizations, and then NGO is for non-governmental organization. So maybe there's somebody in that area who doesn't know even the difference between the two, or they don't even know what normally happens. That's why we're having this option of I don't know. And if you look at the same section, the next question is what? If yes, in which sectors are these organizations working from? So in short, again, the question number B under stakeholder analysis is only individuals who are certain that there are NGOs in that area, then those are the individuals whom again you're going to ask them, which sector are these humanitarian organizations working for? Okay? It doesn't make sense to ask somebody who doesn't even know if there's an NGO in that area if you're asking them again what sector. Same case applies. If somebody says there are no NGO in my area, you cannot go ahead and ask them what? Which sector? That's why there's a condition here for this question. Now, again, I have a question for you. There's this person who said again, I don't know. What does this mean? And also somebody to tell me what these other specify mean in this area. Those are two questions. Anyone wants to try that?
Okay, let me try. So when he says I don't know, it's like he's not aware, he's not informed whether it exists or not. And when he says others, it means there are other NGOs that are not amongst the the choices.
Yes, yes, that is very correct. So what Moses is saying is, now remember you have asked this person what if they are aware of an NGO existing in that area. Now they need again to say which sector do this NGO focus with, and among the option there is again option of what I don't know, and again there's the option of what other specified. To reiterate what Moses has just said, for somebody who said I don't know, it means what this person knows that there are NGO in their area, but what he doesn't know is the specific sector that this NGO focus on. Okay? For the person who says other specify, it means among the sector that these NGOs focus on, there is no sector which is listed here that that guy knows. So again, they will do what? They will proceed and come up with the option of specifying. They need to write for us what are those sector. So let's jump into our software and then we see how we are supposed to handle this part of stakeholder analysis. I will start with this first question. Are there humanitarian organizations working in your area? I copy that. So this time I will not use the inner plus sign, but instead I'll do what? I will use the outer one because there's a new section that I will have to add. So I click on that sign and then I'll paste my question. Are there humanitarian organizations working in your area? If I come here to the option of add question, of course it will be a select one. So one, somebody can either say yes, there are NGOs. The second person will say no, meaning there are no NGO. The third person will say what? I don't know. I'll go to the next question. But before I go there, I have to put what? Section. So I need to make sure that this question is now part of section 2. I will click this sign here. I'll click that sign. Go to the option of group and I edit that part of group. I don't want to write everything, so I'll go and copy this part of section 2. I'll copy that and I'll go back and paste it under the part of group. So I've already added my question into section 2. Now, with adding another question, now the second question under section 2 is the question of what? If yes. So again, you will not come here to your server and then you start by saying, so of course you'll add a question, but you'll not start by saying if yes. Don't do that. That part of if, the software will be doing that for you. So what you'll just do is copy what? Which sector are these humanitarian organization? Just copy from which sector. This will ensure coherence in even what that research assistant will be reading. I'll paste that. And then I'll now go to the option of what? The response. So with the response of which sector, it's supposed to be what? A select one. That means they might be under wash sector. Select one. The first option is wash. The second option is
Hi, George.
hi, how are you?
Is it possible an NGO can work in more than one sector? Because you can find an NGO implementing protection, and they're also implementing WASH, and also doing food and nutrition.
That's a good observation. Yes, I think there's some NGOs that maybe they might be focusing with child protection, and also they offer cash grant.
Yes, sure.
So I think if I go with the option of select one here, I would be locking out some other NGOs.
Yeah, true.
Okay. But again, there's a question of, will the respondent know that this NGO deals with more than, I think it's correct, yeah. A respondent might understand that, yeah, there's one NGO and it deals with multi-sector.
Yeah. Now it will depend on how they are answering you, because you'll find if you are doing data collection, then someone will tell you, okay, these people, maybe when my child was maybe molested, they took care of that. They made sure that I got justice for this. Then we also get food assistance from this NGO. We are also taught on issues of health, maybe hand wash and everything. So you see, a respondent will tell you all that. Then when you are a data collector, then you'll be able to know that this NGO is implementing different projects, you see.
Actually, now again, I think the question that we are trying, another observation we're coming up with is the option of what is the level of, or to what extent does the data collector play in this survey? Because you might be interviewing a respondent whom doesn't know what you call child protection. Okay, but among the things that respondent will be giving you out, then you as the research assistant, this guy is talking about what? Maybe child protection. Okay, so I think again, now here, this way now you'll have, that's why we normally have a training session before people to go out to the field, and some of these things are what you guys might be discussing, so that you say maybe somebody should be helping the respondent to answer or not. So I think that question should be multiple response, unless there's anyone who has other arguments. Any other argument to counterattack that? But to me, I agree with the Polycarp. So I'll say in which sector. When I go to add question, I will select many. And then option 1 is now wash. Option 2 is option 2. Option 2 is protection. Good. Option 2 is real protection. Okay. Option 3 is cash grant. I don't want to do for all of them. I think by now we are getting the drill because of time. Let me just go straight to now that person who says what? I don't know. And then lastly, we have other specified. So let me take this one. I don't know. Control C. And then I have the option of other. And again, remember, if somebody says other, then they're doing what? They need to specify. So it means the next thing you're supposed to do is now, again, add another question and just call it specify. And then, of course, you have to do what? You have to put the condition, which is now the skill logic. So I'll select text, and then I also go to settings, and I say what? The only way this question should appear is if somebody selects other in the option sector. So I'll click there. Then I'll go to sector. And when sector is equal to other, then that is when this question called specify will also appear. Now let's see again, let's perform some scenario analysis, and I'll take you back to the first question. I think we had a discussion about this yesterday. You remember there was a part whereby we were asking these people, are you willing to participate in this survey? And somebody said, if they say yes, then that is when they're supposed to see all the other questions. If they say no, then we're supposed to do what? We're supposed to end the process or the survey. So again, this is the point whereby I want to put some skip logic so that with this skip logic, we can be able to interact and say that, yes, our questionnaire is now working well. So the easier way to do this, we will now be putting skip logic on sections. So you will say the entire section 1 can only be displayed if somebody in this question called, are you willing to participate in this survey? Select what? Select yes. Otherwise, section 1 should not be displayed. So I'll come under section 1. There's an option of settings, and then apply skip logic. I will add a condition, and then I'll say the entire section 1 should only be displayed if the top question where it was asking, are you willing to participate in this survey, is the same as yes. I will close that. I'll also go to the second section and I do the same. I say now, the entire section 2 should only appear if the condition of are you willing to participate in this survey is equal to yes. So in short, otherwise, if those conditions are not met, that means if somebody selects no, then it will skip section 1, it will also skip section 2, and it will take them now to the last part. Now I have a question, and I just want to see how maybe your argument can be. Of course, we said at the end of a survey, or at the beginning, at one point, we need to collect what? To collect the location. Now, this is my question. Do you think GPS coordinates or the location, should it be collected at the beginning of a survey, or it should be collected at the end of a survey? And whichever you choose, kindly give us your argument behind it.
Can I try?
Yes, Polycom.
I think it should be taken at the end of the survey.
What is your reason?
My reason is this, because if you take it at the beginning,
Yes.
maybe someone can load for you an empty questionnaire, and empty questionnaire cannot help you in any way when you're doing analysis.
Okay. So
yeah, because I think when someone is already taking the coordinates, then I think the questionnaire will prompt them to load it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any other person? Should we take it at the end or at the beginning? At least don't agree with him. You can challenge Polycarp. Yes.
I think also, I also think you should take it at the end, because when you are beginning a questionnaire, a person is not very comfortable giving people are sensitive with their location, so they are not very comfortable giving their location. But at the end, they have already gotten comfortable with you. They can agree to give you their location. It's easier to give you your location after at the end, because they know your intentions and they know how how you are going to use the information rather than at the beginning.
Okay. Thanks a lot, boss.
And also to add that,
Yes.
because for it's a questionnaire, and at the beginning you are seeking a consent from the participant.
Yes.
So you see, a participant that has not agreed, that has not consented for the activity to be done, then you already took you already go, you have not even asked for any consent from this guy, and you're already taking GPS coordinates. You can even be chased from that place. You can be beaten badly. See? Because this is a person that has not agreed at all. Huh? And you're already taking GPS coordinates. Because I understand if you are taking coordinates, you have to be somewhere outside that home. Then you are trying to get the nearest satellites to get the GPS coordinates. Huh?
I can see the defense team are really throwing points. They're supporting the fact that GPS coordinates to be collected at the end. Now, I want guys to argue on why you should be at the start.
I think you can as well collect them at the beginning. After all, you're not asking the respondent to give you the GPS points. You are taking them from the system. I think even having non-responses in data collection, it's not an error. It's part and parcel of data collection, and you can always go back. You can make notes and say, in this location, the old man said he can't, but from your sort of maybe your intuition, you think when you go back there, they can always speak, even if not to you, maybe to one of your colleagues, to your bosses. So I think I wouldn't think there is a big issue in either collecting them at the beginning or at the end.
Thank you so much, Jackson. So I know there's a list of guys, and I want everyone to argue their case. So but again, we need to digest what are the responses. So Moses, you're the next one. Just hang it there. You're the next one. You'll be hearing your case. But the two important things that Jackson has just mentioned, which I want to reiterate. One, the GPS coordinates, you're not asking from the respondent. That is a very good point from Jackson. The research assistant just key in at the phone. So the respondent doesn't even know if locations are being collected. Two, the question of empty responses. So according to Jackson says, sometimes it's okay to send back a tool, a questionnaire, without even having response, but at least you have collected the location of where that questionnaire is coming from. Okay? Those are the two main things that I've digested from argument here, Jackson. Let's hear from Moses. What is your argument?
Yes, I somehow want to support the latest point.
Yes.
And my argument is short and precise, is that it will be according to the objective of the researcher. If the researcher want to know the number of people who are dropping, the rate of dropping off, and where are these people dropping off, then there's no harm of collecting GPRS at the beginning. Yes. So it's either at the beginning or at the end, but as per the objective of the researcher.
Good. Actually, short and precise. Now we have two guys from the both end. Maureen, and then I'll go to Lillian. Let's hear from Maureen.
Actually, I think my point has already been discussed, because for me, I see no problem of either taking the GPS at the beginning of your research, in the middle, or even at the end. because basically the purposes of taking the GPS is to, it's like an assurance or that you went to the field and you collected data, and there is nowhere or no place that will be asking the respondent maybe to give you the codes. So it's upon you as a researcher to decide the time to take the GPS. But I'll go for the morning because you realize that sometimes even at the end, you may be in a hurry, or maybe you may be so excited that you've collected the data that you wanted, and at the end, you may even forget to take the GPS. So for me, I think I'll advise in the beginning.
Okay. So,
George,
yes.
I'm still going to put forth some points on that.
Defense team, hold on.
Because okay, because you know, like what the other guys have said.
Yes.
It's like they have gone for, that's an unresponse scenario, you see. And an unresponse scenario, how do you take that? Is it after or it is before? You know, there's a difference. You can check on them. Like if you go to the field, then you go to a household, then you find these guys are not there. Is it after or before? You see?
Yes. Now I hope you guys are taking also concern from Polycarp. Of course, at the end of it all, I'll give also my piece of advice, and I'll justify from both ends. But there's also some key concern that Polycarp is raising. So then let's not just dismiss Polycarp. And then I think I had promised Lillian. I also want to hear from Lillian, so to see whether they are joining at the beginning, the likes of Maureen and Moses and Jackson, or they will go for the end. Lillian, if you are there, floor is yours.
I think, according to me, both arise at different case scenarios, because the beginning, putting the TRS at the beginning, shows the real time that the questionnaire takes place, and also at the end, it helps so you can sieve. If you can sieve those who don't want to answer, so they cannot at least proceed. You cannot have so many data without any questionnaires without responses.
Good. Now, I hope now let's move on. But now I'll have to also weigh in on this matter. I will not say, okay, for me, I prefer to join Polycarp and Maurice, who are saying they prefer the GPS coordinates to be collected at the end of a survey. And I have reasons to support them. Though there are some really nice points that those guys who are raising of the fact that maybe they should collect at the beginning. There's so many things which are very important that Jackson and Moses were raising, which again you cannot just ignore it. Polycarp. There are some real things that have also been raised on the fact. Even Maureen was part of that. One, on my case, and the reason why I'm supporting the guys at the end is you remember there's that part of introduction. And take home in the introduction, you ask this guy for their 5 minutes, or you say this questionnaire intends to take 10 minutes. Kindly, are you willing to participate in the survey? So that guy will say, okay, so fine. As long as it's 10 minutes, I'm good to go. Remember, assuming that guy said, yes, I'm willing to participate in this survey. And then instead of going to the question, you're just silent there, maybe you're not collecting the GPS, or you have asked a question, are you seeing? And then by chance, remember now, these GPS coordinates are supposed to be collected by satellite. As later we will see, our phones will be trying to access the satellite. What if that day is a day where maybe you cannot easily access that satellite? So it needs time. Okay? Remember, we have the accuracy level. You cannot close down. Again, I think that's a discussion we're going to have under GPS. What is the level of accuracy of your location. So my point is, you don't want to keep your respondent there while you're trying to access the satellite so that you get the location and then now you start with the question. I would advise that start the questionnaire while you're at the end, before you say you even had a chance to access the final part to send or to submit your form, we can make that thing to be mandatory, which will now be introducing the concept of mandatory. That means you cannot close that survey if you have not entered what? Your location. And then have your time. Now you can release your respondent. Once the respondent is gone, now take your time. Make sure the accuracy level of your location is now maybe narrowed down to 5 meters or 10. And then now that is when you are going to send. So that is my take home for that argument. Good. Now, Victoria is saying my net has disappeared when you were talking about how to set up others. And for the first time, not good. So don't worry, Victoria. Of course, this class I'm recording and I'll be sharing with you the recording so that you'll be able to see what was happening under that option of other. Guys, so I think so far we have managed to do what? To add groupings, and also with the groupings, we're going to, we have managed to introduce the option of skip logic. Now, let me just introduce the concept of, or maybe let me just push it to the next class. So we'll be talking about mandatory. When should a question be a must and when should be a question not be a must? But what I want us to do is, of course, I'll be sharing again with you guys this link to access this form. And then we see if our skip logic is working well. If somebody selects other, do we get specify? Or somebody can select a teacher and they're still being asked about specify. So let's save our work. Let's save the work.
Hi, Adams.
Yes, Jackson.
So I'm wondering, and maybe this is something that it's in your plan.
Yes.
So this question, we edited it so that it reads, what kind of assistance have you received?
Yes.
And we removed the if yes bit, which I think is a condition. So that that question can only be asked when you have a yes up there. So I wonder how you disable it when it's no or I don't know, just as we are doing with these other skip logics. Or
let me confirm if I'm getting it clear. So is it the question of assistance or this one for which sector?
It's what kind of assistance, because it is the one that is if yes, what kind of assistance, so that so that if the guys have answered no or I don't know, then that question becomes not possible to fill by the research assistant.
Yeah, okay. Now let's digest this question on. Have you or your family already received support from this organization? Okay, that is actually where this conversation starts. You find a respondent in a household, so you're asking them if they have ever received support from an organization. Again, there's this one next question, which is a conditional question, whereby you will ask that person, come out if you had received assistance, then what kind of assistance was that? Again, then somebody will come. I think Polycarp was the one who brought this question about child protection. Okay, so about child protection, somebody might give you a story which goes hand in hand with what? Child protection. Okay, or maybe something to do with agropastoralism. So I think if I was the person in charge of this survey, I would be giving some powers to my research assistants. Because unaweza enda kama like where we come from, somebody can just say, kuna wale watu wa ng'ombe wanakujanga huku kwetu. Okay? So that guy doesn't is trying to tell you that they have been getting assistance which is in line with agriculture and pastoralism, but yeye anasema ni kama kuna wale watu wa ng'ombe wanakujaga kutusaidia ama wale watu wa kumwagia dawa mimea. You getting me? So I think in this questionnaire, if I were me, I would say yes, I would be giving my research assistant more powers to make a judgment call and feel on behalf of now these guys. So it's more or less the same as we had discussed earlier on. I hope Jack, we're now trying to do the scenario analysis again, depending with the population that you're dealing with. Yes, Maureen, proceed.
I have a question. I don't know if it's similar with the one that has just been asked, but I'm wondering on the questions that we have like three different categories of responses that we are expecting from participants. For an example, the one that if they've ever received any assistance and a respondent says no, then there's a question, there's a section for those who will say yes. Then there are more questions that will follow.
Yes.
I expected maybe at that point we'll also apply the concept of skip logic. I don't know, because for those who will say that I've never received any form of assistance, we will not go forward asking them other questions related to the same.
Yes, actually, it's very correct. We have no choice but to make sure that skip logic are applied in such cases. Otherwise, you'll be collecting a very messy kind of data because imechanganyana. So I think in such a case, yes, again, to you as the person who's coding this one, you have no choice but to do a lot of scenario analysis. Say yes. For those guys who said no, if somebody just confirmed that they did not receive any assistance, it will not be making sense if you go and ask them again, which sector. Okay, so again, yes, we'll be handling we'll be doing the skip logic there. Okay, now.
And again, George, I want to weigh in. Because like I think also when we are coding,
yes,
we should not be too rigid. You see, in a field scenario, like when you're going to administer questionnaire, this person has to do what is called climate setting. Because if you just go with close, there are close-ended questions, yes, but you find that most of the close-ended questions asked the way they are, or with anticipation the way they are, you might miss a lot on what you want to collect. Because I've had experience with that. One time I collected data with an ODK. And you realize a respondent will answer that they have never received any help. Yet when you continue, if maybe you don't have if you put your question like you have a question that will check it at the end, or if you don't have, then you are not going to get information. If you put some question that will help you to check, maybe the next question will help you to check, then you are able to get the information that you require, because they will say we don't receive, but when you ask a question in another way, they will tell you now they're receiving that help.
Good. So that thanks a lot, Polycarp. Actually, it's good that we have people who have been to ground. I think Polycarp is doing a lot of field work. Am I correct, Polycarp?
Not really a lot. I've gone to like 2 scenarios. So yeah. Yeah, there's
so
one.
I think we are getting experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So two things I've so far digested from Polycarp. Polycarp says we need to do what you called climate assessment of the population. Okay, what are you dealing with in as far as the kind of person you're interacting with? And then apart from just doing the climate assessment, I think there's a key thing that Polycarp has raised again on having a question which is framed differently, but now it supports the question that you have asked. It's more like an observational, it's more like a checklist. And then to you as now the analyst, as you are going through the response or how people are responding to your question, you might say this is one of the maybe people, one, either they didn't understand the question. Okay, there's a way maybe you might frame your question and somebody doesn't understand. And then when they, or the second part is they were lying. Just like Polycarp had raised. Because if somebody didn't understand a question very well, they might answer it in a different way. Yet, it's just that the question, the way it has been framed, maybe it's ambiguous or it's not straight to the point. So again, those two things will really, really guide on a question like that of assistance. Okay? Now, if there's no any other concern, I was to close down the server so that our conversation again proceed. Okay? Now, I will leave you with, yes.
Maybe I can ask something that maybe just to add on what Polycarp has just said.
Yes.
I think for that case, because you'll be dealing with a question, actually, I think the main purpose is to reduce the limitation, and for that case, mostly it's response bias. Then you'll have to have that question, but repeated elsewhere, even 3 times, just to cater for response bias. And then you'll have to code the way it is. Then later you'll make now your judgment when you'll be coding and you'll be analyzing your data. I have a concern.
Yes.
I know it's not a major concern.
Yes.
I think according to this tool that you gave us, that we are using, it's a key informant interview. Or it's just a questionnaire.
Perfect. Now we'll have all those answers. I want them to come from this class. I don't want to be this one. I don't want now. Again, you're making more. This class, I want it to be more of a discussion than just George telling us the way forward. But before I forget, if you notice what Maureen has just raised, there's a very key point there, whereby Maureen has just introduced again a scenario whereby one question might be asked in the same questionnaire more than once. I don't know if I'm the only one who had that. Maureen, confirm if that's correct.
That's what I meant.
Yes. So here again, don't find, so if you find that a question has been repeated in a questionnaire more than once, again, to you as an analyst, don't ever rush and say, oh, this one maybe it was a mistake, this one is a duplicate. Are we together? Because sometimes somebody might say, okay, there's a variable which is repeated twice. Now you say, this one is a duplicate. Go and delete. Okay? But the point that Maureen has just said is, yes, a question might be repeated more than once in the same questionnaire. But again, when you're doing your analysis, focus or pay attention again on how that person was responding, so that to come to have the surety. And maybe to reiterate on this one, sometimes in interviews, for those guys who, I don't know if Moses, you faced this one in your interview, but sometimes you are asked in an interview, how will you ensure that there's quality of data?
That one I was asked, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you, yes, Moses?
I was asked that one.
Yes, you were asked this question. I know it.
Especially at the ONODK.
ONODK.
Right.
Okay, yes. Actually, for those who don't know, Moses got one of the biggest job for this year. And as he's now confirming that, yes, for this serious organization, they might ask you now, yes, how will you ensure that the type of data you are collecting meets a certain quality or it's meeting up to standard? And I think the introduction of more than a question more than once in a questionnaire is one of the ways of ensuring that that your data is of highest quality. So thank you for that. Yes, Melika, want to say something or to weigh in?
Yes, for example.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
For example, how can one correct the errors?
Okay. Melika is asking how can one correct those errors. So So I think at this stage, since we are learning data collection, we will have to make sure we minimize error as much as possible in our tool. And then when we now go to analysis, remember now there's that other class whereby we'll be learning on how to do analysis. Now in those classes, just to fix now, we'll be learning how to fix these errors, but at least we'll be having as minimum error as possible if we now do some good work when coming up with this server. Okay, any other concern?
Okay, I think, George.
Yes, Polly.
I think Maureen brought up a very good point there. She asked whether the questionnaire we are dealing with is a key informant or... So I think she can explain for us something on that, because I can see it is written key informant interview guide.
Yes. Now, this one is when you talk about now tools in surveys or in research, now with this where we can talk about, now again, another point is, what is the difference between a key informant interview guide and just a questionnaire? Which now, the only way I would say the difference between now a key informant interview guide and a questionnaire is because a questionnaire, you can just release it to, you're not in control. Like for those guys who are doing quantitative analysis, let me just use an example for that. There's a questionnaire for NSSF. And you will say that in that questionnaire, sometimes you are restricted as a data collector from giving out more information about a question. You don't even paraphrase, or you don't even add more things to the question. That means you are leaving the respondent on their own. They fill that questionnaire as per their opinion. But when you talk about a key informant interview guide, there's a way you can guide, you can explain further. Maybe you say, this is what it means by this type of question. So I think from the nature of how we are even asking, or to what extent does the research assistant will be involved in these processes, we can see most of the question here were they needed the assistance of the research assistant. So I think this tool is more of it's an interview guide, and you can say it's a questionnaire, okay? Because the research assistant becomes part of the process, as opposed to a questionnaire whereby now the research assistant is not part of the process of data collection. All of them is just, all they do is just to key in some answers. Any other person who maybe wants to jump in on that, or maybe what is the opinion about the interview and the questionnaire?
Maybe I can say something, because what made me actually to think at first it's a questionnaire, it's because in a semi-structured questionnaire, we usually have closed-ended questions.
Yes.
In that, we have categories for different responses that we're expecting. And that's what I saw from the beginning. And of course, for a key informant interview guide, in most cases, it's usually a open-ended question that we give the respondents or the participants a space for them to explain themselves. But later, when I've looked at it there down, after you are making some explanation, I realized it's sort of a key informant interview guide checklist. I don't know, because now for key informant interview guide in form of checklist, at least we have now the different categories in that we can tick one of the responses. I don't know, but that's my thoughts. But I think it's okay.
Yes, so we are all agreeing that this tool is more of an informant guide. The respondent is the informant, and it guides more of the process than just calling it a questionnaire. So I think we should be winding up, and of course we have a long way of having this kind of conversation until when we finish now this class. For now, let me just say, let's hold on our points. We'll be continuing in our next session, but make sure you save your work. Proceed and save the work. And then again, I will be sharing the link for this form so that you scrutinize on your end before our next class. And then also I'll be sharing the video so that for those who maybe had missed a thing or two, they can still review our work. Guys, let me just yes. Okay, let me start with
Maureen,
and then Maureen.
Maureen, continue. Oh, sawa. Okay.
it's okay.
Like, I was not able to do anything today because I was not able to log in time.
Yes.
Maybe you can share with me those links you gave me through the chat box. You can just share them in the WhatsApp group. Then I think I'll try to log in and do what you did.
Good. I will do that. Maureen? Maureen, you can proceed.
Yes.
Proceed.
I think I have a very kind request to make.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe nimeenda mbio sana, but kindly bear with me, and I'm requesting that you take my request into consideration. If this is the tool that we'll use for the in vivo, for the analysis of in vivo, I know it will be a bit easier for us to code. Maybe kindly you can consider getting a form of FGD in form of the one that is in text format, even if it will have like 4 respondents, so that also we may get to interact and know more how to analyze from text formats and narrowing down into codes and all that, and now reporting kindly.
Good. So what Maureen is, of course, is a qualitative analysis practitioner. Maybe during her work, she interacts with a lot of qualitative. Yes, so Maureen, in our next stage, remember this time we were at the field. So later we're going to put codes and making sense out of those texts. Now the next chapter will be now on in vivo, whereby now we'll be having, if you have you'll have a tool or an FGD tool, and then you also collect data with that FGD, and then analyze, now start putting nodes and codes and make sure that you are making sense out of the data. So yes, somewhere in front, somewhere there in the middle, you'll also learn all these things.
Okay.
Gloria and then Barak.
Also,
Barak, if you're ready, proceed. Barak, proceed. Elcano Malicha.
Yes.
Yes, proceed.
I don't even created the project.
You have not even created a project?
Yeah, because I have lost the project details.
Okay. Okay, I think I'll help you after the session, eh?
Okay.
Gloria?
Mine is just a concern.
Yes.
For some reason, my email has been, the one for quantitative has been cancelled. I am not very sure why, since now we've merged with the new group. So what happens to mine? Because I'm not able to get the link.
Good. Just will text me in the WhatsApp, eh? To get WhatsApp, and then we see that your email is sorted, eh?
Okay, so.
Okay, Maurice?
I was asking, can this form be sent online to let's say to an interviewee to remotely fill in their browsers or in their phones, or does it always does it only involve the interviewer on the ground in the field?
That's a good one. Actually, I will be sharing with you a link for this form so that you also have to access it from wherever you are. You see how it works. So yes, it can be sent, not just must it be on phone, but even using link. You can send it as an email or even WhatsApp. Okay. Any other concern before we call it a day? Sawa. So if there's no concern, guys, let's have a good night and let's meet in our next class.